Bachelor Grant Ellis will end up alone after the Bachelor Season 29 final. March 14, 2025. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. The Bachelor Season 29 star Grant Ellis hasn't been the most entertaining lead, and there are some major signs that despite his best efforts, he's going to end up alone at the end of the season. Grant, who originally appeared as one of the contestants hoping to win Jen Tran's heart on The Bachelorette Season 21, has been struggling mightily through his own season of the show. After becoming a fan favorite throughout the Bachelorette season, Grant's Bachelor leading role was announced in a rush as the franchise faced massive backlash for its poor treatment of Jen throughout the season. Grant may have been one of the most intriguing choices from Jen's season to become the Bachelor, but with a limited number of cast members who were interested in continuing to appear on the show, there weren't many irons in the producer's fire. Throughout the Bachelorette Season 21, the number of men who were openly disinterested in Jen romantically was a difficult statistic for viewers to get past. As one of the genuine guys on the cast, Grant became interesting to viewers and ultimately found himself in a moment of opportunity to become the lead of his own season. As his season approached, Grant's presence within Bachelor Nation grew heavily. Throughout the lead up to the season's premiere, ABC and The Bachelor promoted Grant as one of the most emotionally mature Bachelor leads in years. As a former professional basketball player and a man in his 30s, Grant's desirability as a Bachelor lead went up considerably because he seemed like he'd be more emotionally mature than some leads in the past few years. While there were some red flags that had followed Grant in Jen's season, he still seemed to be the best guy for the leading role. While Grant and Jen's time together wasn't long, Bachelor Nation understood that his emotional maturity and understanding of himself could make for a good season. Unfortunately, Grant's season hasn't gone off without a hitch. While there's been drama between the Bachelor Season 29 cast members, Grant's time as the lead has left a lot to be desired. As a lead, Grant seemed to unearth a bit more trauma in himself that he realized was there before. While he's been going through some turmoil, his relationships haven't been progressing in a way that seems promising enough to lead to an engagement. I'm hoping that The Bachelor ends well for Grant, but I'm expecting a difficult, potentially sadder finale than usual. Grant seemed upset at the Women Tell All. During the recent Women Tell All special episode off The Bachelor Season 29, Grant's appearance was met with concern from Bachelor Nation. While the Women Tell All episode is traditionally for the eliminated contestants to talk through their journeys on the show and find closure with the lead after their relationships end, this season's special seemed to take a turn to focus on the drama. Though the season's drama is traditionally discussed during the special, it was a much larger focus than usual, which left Grant in a difficult position when he was brought out to speak to the experience. Throughout the Women Tell All special, Grant seemed like he wasn't in good spirits. Though he clearly tried to bring his mood up for the conversations he was having with the women, and did his best to be a source of information and closure, it was clear that his energy was off. In his interactions with the eliminated contestants and host Jesse Palmer, Grant didn't have a lot of moments where he seemed like he was in a positive headspace. While he could have just been concerned with the experience, Grant made it seem like he could be on his own. Grant struggled with drama throughout the season. Throughout The Bachelor Season 29, Grant's had a tough time with the drama on the series. Despite knowing that he was going to be coming into a season of The Bachelor fresh off a season of The Bachelorette, which likely should have prepared him for the drama in general, he didn't seem like he was ready for the level of drama he experienced. Throughout Grant's season, the contestants were difficult and had a hard time going through the Bachelor process without creating major drama. Though the show thrives when the contestants are embroiled in drama, it left little room for Grant. As far as Bachelor leads go, Grant doesn't seem to me like one who'd be interested in engaging in drama in any way, and it became clear early on that he wasn't looking to invest himself in the drama of his cast. Despite knowing that the show works more cohesively in the early weeks, when there's drama between the contestants, it was clear from early on that Grant wasn't going to deal with the drama happening between the women of his season. Unfortunately, this isolated Grant and made it more difficult for him to connect with any of the cast. Grant doesn't seem to have strong connections with his final three. Throughout the season, it was clear that it wasn't going to be easy for Grant to build connections in general. While he was emotionally stable and mature in himself, Grant had a lot going on in his personal life that it was clear he needed to work through to be a better version of himself. That being said, Grant was open and vulnerable with the women he connected with to an extent. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to build strong enough connections with anyone in his final three to make it seem like he's going to build a lasting relationship. Grant's final three, Juliana Pasquarosa, Zoe McGrady, and Licia Gare, are all women he's been able to connect with in some capacity throughout the season. Though he didn't get the chance to go on a one-on-one date with Zoe prior to Hometowns, he's spent time with all three of the women at the current point in the season, and I honestly just don't see him finding a lifetime of love with any of them. While he's been able to connect with them in a way that could be a prelude to a relationship, none of the connections are strong enough. Grant doesn't appear open to falling in love. Although Grant was chosen as the Bachelor because he was open to love and hopeful for a relationship, I actually don't think Grant's heart is as open as he thinks. A lot of the time, Grant's emotional moments are somewhat shallow. Now, I don't think this is Grant's fault technically. More often than not, I think the level of emotional vulnerability required to be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette is more than the leads have the capacity to give. Grant was open enough to be a Bachelorette contestant, but being a lead takes things to a whole new level. Although Grant knows that he's open and emotionally available for a traditional relationship, being open and emotionally available for a relationship that barely has time to form before turning into an incredibly public engagement is different. I think Grant was overwhelmed early on by the idea of being the Bachelor and having to take his relationships seriously enough to commit to one of them by the end of the season. Regardless of his desire to fall in love, I think Grant has closed himself off, whether intentionally or subconsciously, to finding love as the Bachelor in such a short time. Grant has too much baggage to work through. Although Grant has addressed a lot of what's happened to him in his life, I think it's clear that his trauma has pushed him to work through a lot of unforeseen baggage in his life. Growing up with a parent who has addiction issues isn't easy, and Grant had to work through a lot to ensure that he was able to succeed in life without the added pressure of dealing with his father's struggles. While Grant appears to feel he's moved past his issues, the work to untangle a difficult childhood rarely ends, even as people grow older and wiser. Though Grant has been able to find himself in happy relationships in the past, it's clear that he's still doing a lot of self-work that he needs to focus on. Grant's time as the Bachelor has seen him thinking he's emotionally open and vulnerable when it's possible he's a bit more closed off than he realizes. Bringing his baggage into the show, Grant may have struggled to build genuine or lasting relationships because of the issues he's faced in the past, especially knowing he's been rebuilding his relationship with his dad. He may just have too much to work through. Grant hasn't been teasing a happy ending. Although the Bachelor franchise often has its leads stay quiet about where they are in life after the show until it finishes airing, the show's leads are usually able to tease a bit about their happiness post-show. Throughout The Bachelor Season 29, Grant hasn't been able to open up about what happens at the end of his season at all. Though this is understandable, Grant hasn't been teasing a happy ending or sharing that he's happy at all after the show's finale. While he may just be trying to preserve the ending, I feel like Grant's hiding something more difficult. Seeing Grant operating throughout the season with a lack of emotional vulnerability, and then seeing him on Women Tell All, it seems likely to me that Grant ends up alone after the Bachelor Season 29 final. Though I'd love to see Grant happy and in love, From the way he's talked about his Bachelor experience, his current state, and watching things unfold on screen, it doesn't appear that there's a light or spark there for Grant. After a lackluster season, I'm hoping that The Bachelor ends well for Grant, but I'm expecting a difficult, potentially sadder finale than usual.